ladies and gentlemen, more bad news for the largest bank in Germany, the Deutsche Bank. Yeah, it's not good. It's been raided for the second day in a row over money laundering accusations. And this is their headquarters. So let me show you the headlines on this real quick. Definitely not exciting news. And I'm starting to have the visions of 2008, 2007, and these markets tanking, taking a huge bath. I'm getting that feeling again. And it's not just because of the Deutsche Bank. Now, let me show you also. This is another thing that made me think also of the 2008 timeframe. Remember when GM and the car companies were closing down a bunch of like GM was just going on a tear, buying up all sorts of manufacturers. Remember Daewoo and all these smaller car companies, they would usurp up, and then they would just mix and match their car parts, etc. So you're basically driving a Chevrolet with a different badge on it. They did it to Saab. They did it to all sorts of vehicles. I think they basically destroyed Saab. I mean, Saab used to be a cool car, but I'm divagating. Anyway, so General Motors is laying off thousands of workers, and President Trump is still giving a very hard stance, in my opinion, towards GM. And I mean, you can read all about it in the news articles. Ford is doing their best not to fire people and lay off workers. They're attempting to shuffle workers. And I want to let you know that the markets, like let's take a look at Bitcoin right now. Bitcoin is a very volatile currency, or electrocurrency, cryptocurrency, let's call it that. And if you know when to get in and when to get out, you can be very successful. And you can also take a huge bath as well. So you have to know when to get in and when to get out. And that's what I like about Trade Genius Academy. I'm friends with Bob. Bob eats, drinks, sleeps cryptos. Now, if you're a trader, you know, a lot of people say, hey, Rex, how's your Bitcoin doing now? Well, it's doing great because I know when to sell and when to buy because I'm connected with Trade Genius. So I'll just get these email alerts that say buy or sell. And when I get those alerts, then I know based upon the algorithms and the data, they're recommending a sell or a buy from the actual data. So look at this right now. Bitcoin today has gone from $39.60 up to $4,229. That's almost an 8% jump. That's pretty solid. So if you know what you're doing, you got to be real careful and never bite off more than you can chew. I'm not making any recommendations. If you want a recommendation, check out Trade Genius. They're offering ridiculous discounts right now. Go to tradelikeagenius.com. Let them know Leak Project sent you. Look at this. This is the market. I want to show you the stocks on the Deutsche Bank, the largest bank in Germany. You know what's interesting? When I saw this article about how it was getting rated, the first thing that came into my mind, I was like, man, I wonder if Trump had something to do with that. It was just something that came into my mind, right? And I didn't know why even, because I don't really follow politics. And when I do follow politics, I do my best to stay out of it because I feel like it's a division tactic. But I'm looking at the thing came to my mind, and then I pulled up, check this out. I got to show you this. So when I just typed in Deutsche Bank raid. And one of the first articles that came up was via Vox, and it says, Deutsche Bank's headquarters raid apparently has no ties to Trump. It's just funny how that was the first headline that pulled up after I thought that in my mind for no apparent reason. It was like that, little whispering Akashic record data set that just downloaded. Deutsche Bank, CNN. Police raid spell trouble for a new CEO. And my name's Captain Obvious. You don't say. GM layoffs. Now let's look at the housing markets. Remember everybody when the housing market was just going nuts? I mean, my goodness, I have friends that lived in Vegas. The house they wanted went from like $800,000 to $400,000. They bought it at $400,000. Shortly after, it was worth about $200,000. They lost their shorts. They went bankrupt. The housing market typically in the past has been very stable. 2008 showed what happens when the housing market goes up so much that people are taking double, triple mortgages attempting to pay for those loans, and it's just like the Wild West in financing. Well, look at the markets right now. Pending home sales tumbled to a 4-year low in latest sign of limping housing market. Market Watch. New home sales fall to nearly 3-year low. Inventory surges 3 days ago. And then 1 day ago, they update it to 4-year low. Now you can look at Phoenix and Austin, according to business journals, as the housing markets to watch in 2019. The housing market is having a wobble. Economist.com. Is the housing market cooling down? Yeah. Bitcoin, very volatile. I mean, let's look at the past month. Past month, it's gone from $6,300 to now about $4,200, but it dropped below the 4,000 mark. And now it's taken that step, that up step, at least it has today. So we're going to see where this goes. What else was I going to show you? Yeah, look at this. Douche Bank raids reached senior managers, Bloomberg. They're saying that they were having ties with criminal activity. Let me share just a quick excerpt from the Douche Bank headquarters raided over money laundering on bbc.com/news. And 2 days in a row, folks. 2 days in a row. Is this the beginning of another correction? The Frankfurt headquarters of Douche Bank have been raided by prosecutors in a money laundering investigation. Germany's public prosecutor alleged the 2 staff members have helped clients launder money from criminal activities. There have been police cars seen outside the tower blocks that house the headquarters of the largest bank in Germany. There have also been 5 other Douche offices in the city that have been searched via operation involving approximately 170 police officials, or police and officials. Now, the prosecutors are looking into whether the Douche Bank staff has helped clients set offshore accounts, transferring money from criminal activities. Now, this particular investigation started back in August. And what they're doing is they're investigating activities between 2013 and the beginning of this year. Check this out. Back in 2016, there were more than 900 customers that were served by the Douche Bank subsidiary registered in the British Virgin Islands. Now, this equaled a volume of 311 million euros, according to prosecutors. Boom. Will you just look at it? And then it talks about the Panama Papers. Information contained in the Panama Papers has caused other banks to be fined. And the Douche shares have fallen approximately 3%. And this was after the news of the raid. And now if you go to the Twitter, if you read what they're saying on Twitter, they're like, it's okay. Despite uncertainty, stocks still have upward potential. None of the current geopolitical risks, such as Brexit, Italy, Italian debt, or the China-U.S. trade conflict, are expected to escalate. You can see the Twitter right there. Now, look, this is an interesting Twitter tweet. Computers will be more intelligent than us in every way, at Frank Thelen on AI in Thoughts of the Week. We just look at it. Now let's go to I want to look at the chart. Let's look at the chart. So this is the Douche Bank chart. Now look at what happens in 2007 when the peak. So it maxed out at about $116, 116 US dollars, and that was 2007. Looks like the third quarter of 2017. I'm sorry, 2007, May 4th, 2007. Then it goes all the way down, and it drops to about $20, about $21 right there, as you can see. Gets back up to about the $57 mark, almost $60. Now, the trends, with the market trends, if you look at the Dow in comparison, like let's just take a look at this over the past year. 1 year ago, December 1st, 2017, it was at $18.98. Now it's at about $9.16. So its value has dropped substantially. Now, with the money markets overall, like look at the Dow Jones, let's look at it the past year. It's been stepping, moving up and down, having these pretty substantial peaks and valleys here. But over the past year, it's still staying pretty consistent as far as the bottoming goes. If you look at this right here, if you look at these bottoms. So then you go year to date. And yeah, we've had some big drops, but then we've also had it popping back up here. Let's look at it over the past 6 months, the past month. Now let's look at it over the past 5 years. Let's take a look at it over the past 5 years. So we go back to 2013, December 2013, and you can still see that it's been doing very well overall. Then we go back to the Douche Bank and look at this over the past 5 years. So, in my opinion, they're in trouble. So I don't think it's just my opinion either, because here's the headlines. Just reminds me so much of 2008 and 2007. I saw it all happening when it was going down. I was working at a Fortune 100 company, and I was just watching the stocks daily, going down and down and down. And I remember saying something to my friend that used to work with the Pentagon, Department of Defense, very intelligent person, family heavily involved in the military as well. And he said, yep, get ready, Rex. They're going to start laying off a lot of people. They're going to start closing down stores. Shortly after, they started laying off a lot of people, closing down stores, restructuring, etc. And the company has done very well, and the company rebuilt itself. And it's, the right companies will find a way to restructure. And overall, I feel that even if we have a huge correction worse than 2008, because of this global market, as long as the lights don't go out and the power stays on, internet services, etc., I think that people will have an opportunity. They're just going to have to find that new niche. They're going to have to find that new service or product that people need, and it's going to be like a restructuring of the economy. It's going to be restructuring of different industries. There's going to be a lot on the horizon. I mean, just go back 10 years. Look at the technology over the past 10 years. It's phenomenal. The past 20 years, even more exciting. Go back and watch a movie from the 80s or the early 90s to put you into that mindset if you were around then. It's a very fascinating world that we live in. Now, you can be on one side of the spectrum and say, hey, man, I'm giving up. I can't do anything. The world's ending. I'm just going to hide in a corner and see what happens. Or you can be proactive and you can actually look for things. Look for those little niches that people are searching for that isn't being offered. Another example, I've got some excellent equipment that I ordered that I'm going to be able to share with you that you're going to want to know about. That I don't know of anybody that is really doing this at a international level. I haven't seen anything like it. So, and it's not even that far out. I mean, it's once I show you what the equipment that I've got and what we're going to be doing, you're going to be like, wow, why don't I think of that? And it's going to bring back some cool memories. So there's different things that we can do. And I think that cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, etc., I think that there's a lot of potential. Now, that's my opinion because I see these transitions. And when you see these huge financial industries usurping up large amounts of these currencies, these cryptocurrencies, and then you find out states are actually allowing, let me see what state this is. Which state is allowing Bitcoin for taxes? I think it's Ohio, but yep, look at this. Check this out. Ohio becomes first U.S. state to allow taxes to be paid in Bitcoin. That's pretty cool. Also, China allows for cryptocurrencies again. They were clamping down hard on this, and not too long ago, you can see back in September, look at that, China clamps down on cryptocurrency speculation. Now, and I found this out from Bob. Bob told me the day that this information was available via government, and I couldn't even find it on the web. I couldn't find any articles on the web. He was already doing podcasts on his YouTube channel about it. He's got a great YouTube channel as well. You should subscribe to his YouTube channel. Bob Kudla, Trade Genius Academy. Subscribe to his YouTube channel. China clamps down on cryptocurrency speculation. Yes, and then in October, end of October, October 27th, China merchants are legally allowed to accept Bitcoin and crypto. That's pretty big news, folks. And let me ask you a question. If you are a financial institution that has billions and billions and billions of dollars to invest, and if you can manipulate markets based upon the money and the connections you have with the media, the big conglomerates, do you not think that you're going to be able to manipulate to an extent and create these mental ideas in people based upon the programming that will influence their mindset whether to buy or sell? And okay, well, if I was a big institution, I'm just thinking in my mind, if I was a institution that had billions of dollars to invest, and if I could, if I was connected to the media, etc., and governments around the world, and I was able to manipulate laws and regulations and rules to bring these prices down, and then say, okay, the price is where I want it to be now. Let's get contact with the media again, these people, these politicians and lobbyists, etc., the big wigs that behind the scenes oftentimes that we don't even know about, and the ones that we do. So, okay, boom, boom, boom. It's where we need it to be. You ready to make a big investment? Boom, let's buy it all up. Price goes way up again. People start seeing that. They get excited. They start buying into it, buying in on the hype a lot of times as well. And that's one thing I like about Bob. He said, hey, don't buy in on the news hype. It's like, okay, then they get the price where they see it's, they see it close to a peak or whatever. Then boom, it's time for them to sell again. Because that's one thing about stocks and cryptos, etc., is some people buy and they just sit on them. Some people buy to trade. Some people buy to sell. My friend Phil, I got to get him on the show. This guy is a genius, and he is so knowledgeable with stocks. He is a multi-millionaire. He could have retired years ago, but he just chooses to work because that's what he likes to do. And he likes to mess with people, like in a good way. He likes to, anyway, he's awesome. When I say mess with people, I mean it in a way where he just likes to get reactions out of people, and he's really good at it. And he's just a fun guy. But he still chooses to work. And he's very conservative with his money, but he knows stocks. I mean, he knows stocks better than just about anybody that I know. He's up there with Bob Kudla with the stocks. He doesn't get into cryptos, but what he does is he's actually the one that came up. He told me the term about the MFers. So I want to thank Phil for the term the MFers, the money funders, because what he does is he watches these stocks and the big guys, these institutions. He's watching these institution buys and these institution sells because they sell oftentimes big blocks. And when they do that, oftentimes when they're selling these big blocks based upon the information that he told me, as they're selling them, because they're selling such large amounts, the prices continue to go down. So he says, what I do, Rex, he says, I just latch on to the MFers. I'm like one of those, fish suckers, like those things, like those just latch on. Like he'll latch on to the big whales, the big fish, the MFers, and by watching them, he makes strategic trades, etc. And he was sharing some information with me on, I think it was it Trulia? Let me double check here. He said, check out this conspiracy. Let me pull this up real quick, and I'll let you know. Yeah, check this out. So he sent me a link. He says, Rex, I think this might be a racket. He sent me the link via Facebook. And this link, pulling up right now, is this link right now is about Zillow. And Zillow is a pretty cool company. I mean, if you've ever looked up Zillow.com, it is a great way to find a house. And the stocks were doing really good, and then they took this huge hit. And Phil was like, man, I think that this was kind of a design thing. Now, that's what Phil's telling me, in his opinion. So I think that if you've got the money and you've got your hands in almost every cookie jar, and you can keep feeding those cookies in the cookie jars, how much control do you have? So, a lot of times when my gut instinct, when I have a feeling or an emotion, and I stick with that emotion, for me, it hasn't let me down. It's like those are always the most important for me. Like the more I learn to trust my instincts and intuition and my inner self, the more powerful my mind becomes. I'm sure it's happening with you as well. If you've been keeping track of the Leak Project, I know many of you are saying, hey, I have grown so much just by the topics that you discussed, doing my own research. And I want to thank you for that. And I want to thank you for saying that. And I want to thank you for the kind words. So many people leave courage, very incredible comments that take a lot of courage. And I respect you so much for that, because that definitely offsets the nasty comments. That definitely offsets the troll comments. There's still plenty of those. You got to have thick skin to do this. I mean, anything somebody can see that they don't like about you for whatever reason. Maybe you look like somebody that they just didn't like in school, so they're going to have that connection in their mind and blame you no matter how nice you are to them. Or maybe they don't like your political belief or the color of your skin or what kind of clothes you wear or what kind of TV shows you watch. There's always people out there that will disagree with you about something. And it seems to me like a lot of these people will project their own fears and mindset. But hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. So, kind of going all over the place here. But that's how I roll. And where's I going with this? So yeah, like 93% approximately the comments are amazing. And 93% approximately of the videos are liked. So I think that's a pretty good percentage, especially with as controversial as some of these topics are. And, also with all of the media hype and the power of the media, if you can learn to watch these TV shows and the news, you can pick up on these underlying messages. And oftentimes, I don't even think they realize they're in there, but you can pick up on it because you are in tune enough with Source, with the divine, with the Great Spirit, with your surroundings, with everything around you. I'll share this on another podcast, but a few nights ago, about 3 o'clock in the morning, I was focusing my energy on somebody that I want to do a lot of work with in the future, because there's a lot of connections this person has, and we've been talking back and forth about working together and expanding minds, raising consciousness, etc. And this person has a lot of resources and connections, and he's a good dude. And so I'm thinking, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, and as I'm going to sleep, I'm like, dude, call me. And it's going through my mind. I'm like, you need to call me. Call me tomorrow. So he sends me an email in the morning. He's like, Rex, we really got to get together. We got to get this finalized. We got to finish this up. I'm like, you're right. So I called him up, and we started talking. And he told me about a dream that he had about me at the same time that I was thinking that. He's like, yeah, I had a dream that you were up at our studio out here and you were rocking it. You were knocking it out of the park. I'm like, man, we got to get him up here at the studio. So be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it. Be careful how much you're willing to exercise your mind. And when you get to that level, when your mind is at a point of you think it happens, you've got to be extremely careful of your thought process, because just your thoughts start to manifest. When the universe, I'm feeling it right now. I mean, like check this out. Look at that. Both arms. Hello, and I'm warm in here. So that's the kinesthetic side of me. I feel the energy. I feel the electricity. And when I had that amazing experience with Dorothy and Naomi at the Monument Valley area, we were on private land, and Dorothy is a amazing Navajo woman with knowledge and history of the Navajo people and language that she is going to pass on for future generations. That is incredible. I mean, it's second to none. She's amazing. And she just lost her father. Her father passed just a few days ago. to the next, to the next side. And she was sharing with me this story, and her, myself, and Naomi were just, we were hugging each other, and I could feel the spirit of her father, and I can feel him now. And I remember driving out, so there was that whole crazy situation at the Valley that, first of all, I had nothing to do with. I was invited out there as a guest. So I just want to make it very clear that we are all our own people. And I am agnostic, and I am a solo traveler. I am a rogue, independent observer, not from here. Okay? So, and I definitely have the most respect for all natives, all tribes, all people. I mean, I'm colorblind when it comes to understanding somebody's soul. It doesn't matter what you look like on the outside. What do you look like on the inside? So that whole experience that I had with Dorothy and Naomi and everybody out there, such amazing people. And then the news came out and slandered that whole situation. I mean, I read the headlines, I read through the news articles, and it was terrible. The whole thing was just a really bad situation that didn't need to happen. And the good news is, what I took from this is when I had an opportunity to meet some of the most amazing people. I had an opportunity to meet Naomi. I had an opportunity to meet Dorothy. I had an opportunity to meet Jonah. Jonah took us on a tour at Mystery Valley. Jonah is a native. He is a Navajo. And we went on this amazing tour. And he was with us every step of the way. And they showed us their heritage and history and places of amazement. And I saw these petroglyphs that are just astonishing in these areas. This one place called Skull Arch. This one place called Petroglyphs of 1,000 Hands. And it was just amazing. And the people were amazing. And the energy was amazing. And after the whole situation of getting escorted out of the park and having to go through my room with people that were dressed in SWAT gear and had bomb shields, etc., they were all very respectful. They were just very firm. They wanted everybody out of there. And once again, I'm an observer. I'm not there to I was not there to cause any problems. I was just there out of amazement and excitement. And so I just want everybody to know, and I think you already do know, and I've explained my position several times already, but I just want to make it very clear that I was there as an invited guest. I was invited to go out there, and it was like a vacation for me. It was supposed to be a vacation and nothing of any disrespect. Because I clearly know how psychology works, and I clearly know how people react, because I was in the industry of working with people for so long. I mean, that's one thing I'm pretty good at, is knowing how somebody's thinking based upon their body language and just intuition and seeing how they're reacting, etc., and just what kind of people they are. I can usually feel it. It was like one of those things that happened where all this information is overflowing and disinformation, etc., to where it just turns into a big cluster mess. Now, I was told by one of the officers there that certain permits were not purchased that needed to be. And then I've heard the other side that it was on private land, so there was no permit needed. But if the tribe was given information that there's going to be a bunch of people coming in, doing a bunch of crazy things, going to places that are sacred without permission, without getting the proper permits, and just filming and being like the Wild West, they didn't want that. So they had to put order down. And I've also heard down the grapevine that there are people in certain tribes and that own certain land that tribal leaders or other people don't want them there. So they're doing that, so they do their best to make it difficult for them to get products and food and monies, etc. So I've heard everything, folks. I've heard a whole bunch of different stories. And I've looked through the eyes of everybody. And once again, I must say that everybody there, as intense as it was, all the officers, all the SWAT, they were still respectful enough to me and my family to let us get our stuff and get out of there. They wanted to they had to create order. That's the way that I'm seeing it in my eyes. This is all my opinion too. Remember, this is not set in stone. You can go read the article. The news article is yourself, though. And when you read the news articles that say, oh, there was a cult that showed up, so they closed the park down, and then they call people Gnostic Luciferians, well, that to me is hearsay. And that, in my opinion, is somewhat, that is slander. Like you are knocking on somebody's character, and you are labeling them as something that is hearsay. And then you're putting it out in the news and writing it down as, as basically fact, right? Or are you not writing that down as fact? Are you writing it down as hearsay? So it's just a big cluster mess. And I think that a lot of this, I don't know. I hope it could have been avoided. Certainly, this wasn't my event. And I was just a guest that was invited to go. And it was still an amazing opportunity. Like the way that the whole thing happened with the place getting that one area where everybody had to leave and they started sending people in with, full on gear, SWAT gear. I was gone when that started. When I got back, that's when everybody was pulling out. So, we had no cell service when we're out there doing that tour, looking at those amazing sites that we paid to take, and it was in Mystery Valley. We had a paid Navajo guide that took us there. So, on that note, let's all learn from this, and if we can, I've certainly learned some things from this, and let's work together in the future. Let's find a way that we can unite, we can find peace, we can find balance, and we can work together. And once again, they call me a dreamer, and I'm not the only one. Bill and Ted had it spot on. Be excellent to each other. Be excellent to each other. If we were excellent to each other, would any of this had happened? If we were good to each other and people were genuinely wanting to work with somebody and not be prejudiced or racist based upon something that is not necessarily even that person's, like, how do I put this? I still sense a lot of anger toward, and I'm looking for the most correct way to put this, but I read through these comments. And a lot of these comments they will attack somebody based upon the lightness of their skin. They will say stuff like, "Oh, get out of here. We don't want you here. Your ancestors were terrible. Your ancestors destroyed our ancestors, etc." And isn't that, if you're going to be that angry towards past generations, how is that giving people from this generation a chance to mend and to say, hey, brother, hey, sister, I'm your brother, I'm your sister. I know I have a different colored skin. I know I'm from a different tribe, but we're still soul family. We're still in this together. Like, what happens if a bunch of giant tarantulas with laser beams connected to their legs fall out of a giant mothership? And they want to just take out everybody on this, everybody here. These giant tarantulas with Smurf hats and laser beams. Would you then say, hey, Bob, I know you're from a different tribe, but we need to work together to save ourselves? Or what happens if all the nuclear reactors start going off? Are we going to work together and find a solution? Or are we going to say, oh, no, because you're this and you're that. No, we can't work together because of your ancestors. Well, first of all, I want to make it very clear. My ancestors were awesome, and they were amazing with the native people. I have ancestor blood running through my veins, so my ancestors weren't like that. And I think that most people genuinely, truly want to find harmony with their neighbor, with their brothers and sisters, regardless of anything else. So, on that note, I'd like to say thank you for listening to my ramble and my divagating. And I want to thank everybody once again for being amazing and be the change you want to see. Give a hug to somebody, not a troll comment. How about that? Give hugs, not troll comments.